found an interesting study or a cool study on the anabolic effect of whole eggs. So I've brought up this person before, Vince Gironda. You guys know who that is, right?
You bringing him up.
So Vince Gironda was this he was one of the first, I don't know if you call them like science-based bodybuilders in the early days of bodybuilding. So like 1940s, 1950s. Some of the stuff he said was brilliant. Some of the stuff he says may be controversial and maybe wrong. But a lot of the stuff he said was crazy. He was ahead of his time. One thing that he advised was for bodybuilders to eat 1 to 3 dozen eggs a day, and they would notice steroid-like effects. Now, just to paint the context, the steroids that they took back then are not like what they would do now. So it's not going to compare to like what a pro bodybuilder is now. Back in those days,
probably like TRT version of it. Right?
Well, back in those days, we'd take like 5 or 10 milligrams of Dianabol a day, and that was their cycle. Today, that would be like a joke. Like a bodybuilder they would do like 50 milligrams of D-ball plus a bunch of other stuff. Okay, so he would compare it to the context of the time. Nonetheless, there was a study that was done on egg consumption, and I'm going to read to you kind of what it looked like. So they took 30 resistance-trained young males. So these are guys who worked out already, 30 of them. One group ate 3 whole eggs right after training, and the other group ate 6 egg whites right after training. So egg whites versus whole eggs.
3 versus 6.
3 versus 6.
Okay.
So protein intake is the same. The difference is the whole eggs has fat, has the cholesterol, and some of the other nutrients and that kind of stuff. Both groups did 3 full body workouts a week. This was a 12-week study. The group who ate the whole eggs had more fat loss, more muscle, more testosterone, and more strength. Wow. So they saw significant or statistically significant improvements, including fat loss.
Haven't they called egg yolks like nature's multivitamin? I think I've heard that before.
Eggs in general.
Yeah.
Like they're one of the most nutrient dense foods.
This is a old study.
So do they
Back
base
in
that?
his days, right?
No. This study is.
So you're referencing Vince because he used to recommend that.
Yes,
but they did a recent study.
This is more recent.
Interesting that it's not because I thought you were saying that was old. I'm like, that's weird because in the bodybuilding community, egg whites are so popular.
No, I brought up Vince Gironda because one of the things he was known for back then was for taking his athletes and having them eat like lots of eggs every single day, and they would all get all these huge gains from it. Now, I've talked about this before. I eat between 8 to 12 eggs every single day, whole eggs. And I notice significant muscle gains when I do so, especially if I haven't done it in a while. If I haven't done it in a while, and then I go 8 eggs a day, whole eggs a day, or 10 whole eggs a day, my strength gains are palpable. They are like huge, like 10, 15 pounds on most of my lifts. It's pretty crazy.
So did they parse out and speculate that it was like dietary cholesterol was a major contributor to that?
They don't know.
Okay.
They think arachidonic acid, which is a fatty acid that might contribute to the muscle building process. I think it's the cholesterol. Cholesterol is you could label it a steroid chemical. It's the building block for hormones. When I take my cholesterol from normal, not my blood cholesterol, by the way, my cholesterol intake, which has very little to no effect on your cholesterol levels. So everybody needs to relax with that. If you're otherwise healthy, you're going to be fine. But when I bump my cholesterol intake, I notice like testosterone boosting, central nervous system activating effects. Like I'm stronger, libido's higher, more energy, better pumps. I don't get sore. I recover better. I think it's the cholesterol. When you work out, your blood cholesterol takes a temporary dip because your muscles are sucking in that cholesterol and using it for repair. So I think that dramatic increase in dietary cholesterol is one of the reasons why the whole egg group built more muscle.
Do you think there's a bit of a bell curve or a plateau that happens?
Yes.
Like you get it, and then it's because you haven't had it, and then you get it, and then it's amazing. And then do you think it starts to dip, or do you think it just kind of plateaus?
Kind of maintains. I eat it like that every day.
Right.
If I were to stop, I would notice that I would start to get a little bit of a decline. And if I stop, and I'll do this every once in a while, I'll stop for 2 or 3 months, then I'll bump it up again, and it's like the first 3 to 5 weeks, boom, it's this huge boost, which is cool. If you're an athlete or a power lifter, test this out on yourself. It may help you peak for your event.
So what's the theory on that? Like that's because you get this from some supplements, right, too, where you take these supplements and you feel this initial like, oh, wow, big difference. And then it just kind of levels off and then it never really gets better. It doesn't get worse, but just kind of stays the same. Is the theory on that there's an optimal amount that your body wants for optimal performance, and you were probably running, pretty low or suboptimal, and then you get that, and then it takes you to your most ideal amount.
Here's what I think is happening. So the reason why the whole like dietary cholesterol hypothesis of the 80s and 90s has obviously been debunked, right? Where they're like, oh, don't eat cholesterol because it affects your blood cholesterol. We know that to be false because our body has this really remarkable mechanism for modulating our own diet, our own blood cholesterol levels. So your liver will produce more or less cholesterol depending on how much you ingest. The old studies, by the way, that were done on dietary cholesterol that showed, oh my God, if you eat lots of cholesterol, you have terrible cholesterol, were done on rabbits. Rabbits don't have this system in the body that regulates cholesterol. Ours does. So what I think happens is that initial 3 to 5 weeks, your body is starting to adjust, but in the interim, you just have way more of this cholesterol available. Then when it adjusts, then you kind of plateau a little bit.